Beware of expectations on the spiritual path. So, everything that we try to do in our lives, we do through our minds, in a sense. We think about our problems and then we think about the solutions. We think about what we want to have for lunch. We think about what we want to do after work. And it all seems to get figured out through this mental process. And we even identify quite often with that mind or that mental process itself. So, since through thinking, thinking is like a linear sort of progression, or at least that's the way it appears to us. So, it appears to lapse through time, and you might have a thought like, um, what do I want for lunch today? And then the next thought might be, I want to have pizza. So, there's a linear path that sort of plays out there. And since we identify often with that mind or thinker, or we interface with the world with our thoughts, when we try to seek spiritually, when we're seeking to have an awakening, when we're seeking enlightenment, when we're seeking spiritual truths and insights, we think about it. And we think about, this is what I want. Now, what do I do next? And then we might think that we're going to read some books, might think that we're going to meditate, and then, as we read those books, we're thinking about what we're reading, and when we have those meditations, we think about what happened in it. And oftentimes it's hard to stop thinking during the meditation itself. So the thing with thinking is, we think with language, and language is dualistic. So when we think one thought, it has a meaning, and there's a polarity and play of opposites going on when we are constructing our language. For things to have meaning, they are sort of the words that we choose to use have some meaning opposed to some other meaning, and that gives it some definition, which gives it the appropriate use after the previous word. And um, to do this, we have to be able to, at least we appear to have some sort of expectation of where our thought process is going and what we'll get from that thought process. There's expectations. What do I want for lunch? Well, I expect that pizza's an option if I'm even going to say I want pizza. And I probably expect that the pizza's going to be satisfying. And this whole linear progression of thought is, constructed with dualistic language, and it's constructed in such a way to have certain expected outcomes. So when we're spiritually seeking, I don't know how that happens. When we're spiritually seeking, right? The only way we know how to do anything is with our mind, with our thinking. And so as we're thinking about how we're going to go about doing this, we're creating a lot of expectations. And and when we're thinking about the books that we read, or what we see in videos, or the way that people seem to embody their spiritual attainments, or whatever you want to call it, this creates expectations. Even the idea of a spiritual attainment is an expectation. And to boot, all of this language that we're using to think and create these expectations and to execute these wills and thoughts and ideas, right? All of this is just made up too. Like, all of the language is just made up. You might hear a word from somebody else. Well, that word was made up, but he probably didn't make up the word, so he heard it from somebody else, and so on and so on. And not everybody has even the same definition or meaning that they infuse into these words. And on top of that, they're made up. So they're made up, And we all have our own sort of definition of the words. I mean, we can all read the same definition out of a dictionary, right? But that doesn't mean that we're going to interpret that definition the same. So when we're spiritually seeking, it's really tough because we're trying to get to what's true, but we're doing that with made up language that we all have a different interpretation of. So I mean, it's not almost impossible. It actually is impossible, and not really even for that reason, but for another reason actually. And that other reason is that what enlightenment is and spiritual awakening is, right, is basically realizing that all language is illusory and words are illusory, and all the things that our thoughts allude to is illusory too. It's all made up language, and our own identity is something that we've learned from our culture and is constructed of made up language, and we have our own interpretation of it. So basically, what we believe we are is just that. It's a belief, but we take it for truth. And everything that stems off of that belief is a fiction as well. So we're like a fiction. We're like a fictional character. At least from our own perspective and with our own identity. It's a fictional identity. And that sounds a little out there, but if you really think about it and you bite the bullet and admit it to yourself, yeah, I mean, everything that you know about yourself, you learn from other people. And to give yourself a solid identity and reality, you have to have some beliefs that you take for reality, truth. So all of the expectations that we pick up about spiritually seeking or enlightenment, whether it's what those insights are going to be, what somebody who's awakened or enlightened should act like, what it should feel like or appear like if you have awakening experience or you become enlightened or any idea like that. All of those things are expectations that you think about, and the thoughts are made of language, which is arbitrary and made up. And even though that language has been passed down almost like through a game of telephone, and passed on and used in different ways by different people, and when the words get to you, your interpretation is going to be different from everybody else's too. So all of those expectations are going to send you on a wild goose chase. Any expectation. But not only that, but enlightenment is the disillusionment of thinking altogether. So you're using the very tool which is preventing the dawning of enlightenment within your being. That's saying too much, because in a sense you're already enlightened, because you are what you are is not an identity made up language. What you are is beyond that. So you are already the transcendent of your own mind, but you are appearing as an identity. This is an illusion that is caused by thoughts, which are illusory to begin with, because thoughts are not separate or different from everything else. It's all one appearance. And that's already always the case. That's the thing, is from the post-enlightenment perspective, there was no enlightenment, or another way of looking at it is that enlightenment is absolute and always the case. But don't turn any of this into an expectation. Everything I say is made up of language and it's going to be interpreted in your own way. What I'm trying to point to is that what I just said there, language is made up. It's has infinite different interpretations, and it's not real. Language isn't real. Language is literally symbols that point to symbols. So there's no ground to it. There's no substance. There's no reality. So yeah, any expectations, it's not easy, but try to let them go. Try to realize that you're holding an expectation. And that awareness of that will actually disentangle yourself from those beliefs and expectations. And yeah, it's really funny because every expectation is going to be wrong. I can pretty much bet on that. So yeah, if you like this video, then please hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, then please subscribe. If you have anything you want to say, then please comment down below. If you know anybody who might like this, then please share it. And if you want to get notifications whenever I drop new content, then hit that little bell button. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.